Hey there, internet friends. Trevor Starkey here on day 363 of daily videos for what will likely be a final, what I feel like Friday video. So for this final one, as I am wrapping things up on this daily video thing on Sunday, but this is kind of the last, Friday natural kind of breaking point to do a kind of like retrospective on what I thought of this project for the year. I figured I would do that. So just kind of looking back on the year, and I didn't really know that I was going to do this as a 1 year kind of thing when I started. It was just kind of I'm going to push myself to do a daily video thing. And the hope was that I would push myself to do daily videos and become better at editing and stuff like that. And turns out it just takes a while to even just sit down and put together a video in the same way that it just takes a while to sit down and do some writing. And much like I ran into with the daily writing, I feel like forcing myself to just kind of do a daily video and put something out there. I'm not putting out necessarily the best things that I want to put out. You probably notice if you follow me closely that I really haven't promoted any of these videos, like even through Twitter, for probably the last few months. Maybe there's a one-off thing here or there, but mostly I just kind of have done the video, uploaded it, and called it that. And that's largely because I feel weird about promoting the same kind of stuff in my feed over and over again, but also because I definitely got to a point where I felt like I was just kind of crapping some of these videos out, and they were just kind of like, okay, I'm going to sit down in front of the camera, ramble for a couple minutes, and then just upload it and be done with it, and I just want to move on to the next thing. And so that's kind of where I've been, and why definitely a huge factor as to why I'm putting an end to this project is because I just want to. I want stuff I put out to have more kind of behind it if I'm going to keep putting it out there. I don't want to just put something out to put something out. I'm after kind of doing this don't break the chain thing twice now, and be Trevorifying it instead of like my friend Alex did with Don't Break the Chain, writing every day. But he didn't publish something every day. He would go in and write and work on something for weeks, and then, publish that. Or maybe never even publish it at all. And me kind of insisting on a daily publish schedule, while I've also got, a full-time job behind me and other life commitments and stuff. It very much became exhausting at times. And so I definitely got to a point where this has become certain days more of a chore than it's worth. Fridays are one of those days where sometimes I would just kind of get to a Friday and be like, I don't know what I want to talk about. Let's go random, do kind of a random generator for what I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, that's kind of one thought. Just kind of going through the days in general. So what I started doing with, originally I was much more focused on video games. This project has kind of expanded my interest, so that's been cool. I feel like it's expanded my interests, of course, at the cost of video game stuff. So the video game kind of content on the site and in these videos is largely now kind of relegated to Sundays and Tuesdays, and I've also, because I've spent so much time doing all of these other things, I feel like I basically have done all those other things instead of playing video games a lot this last year. I still kind of get to play a lot of stuff, but I also am like, oh, okay, I need to watch My Hero Academia for an hour and kind of, really focus on that. I can't just be playing something in the background and watch this other thing. So sometimes what would have normally been video game time has been kind of chipped away at, or going to movies. I've been going to the movies way more. So I've been at home playing video games significantly less. So that's definitely something I kind of have recognized out of this whole project. Movie Mondays in general, I've always enjoyed movies. Going and seeing more in this past year has been enjoyable and kind of a little bit of a reminder of what I enjoyed about theater and kind of the the power of kind of that storytelling a little bit. With MoviePass, I've definitely seen way more movies than that I just would not have even bothered to see, because it makes it kind of cost effective and stuff like that. And also, I've just really enjoyed kind of the Alamo experience in particular. Going when I realized that we had an Alamo Drafthouse here in the Valley, and I'm getting to go to the new one that opens up significantly closer next week. They're kind of doing a soft open next week with Deadpool, and then they're formally opening with Solo in a couple weeks. So I'm looking forward to. I've already got 2 tickets booked with them. I've got a Deadpool screening booked there for Thursday, and then Star Wars Solo opening, which both I had already booked at the Chandler Alamo Drafthouse, which is about 30 minutes from me. And so the next day after I booked those tickets, I got an email being like, "Hey, you are I'm not top brass at Alamo, which is like their top tier loyalty reward person, but I'm like a commandant or whatever." So they invited me to kind of the soft open, and hey, like, here are the special private invite only links to come see Deadpool. And I was like, sweet, I'm gonna go ahead and book my tickets there, where it's 15 minutes away instead of 30 minutes away in Chandler, and I'll just refund those Chandler tickets. So that's been a lot of fun going, and that's in part because doing this has pulled me away from doing cooking and stuff, which I'd been doing a little bit prior to all these videos, because again, that's another thing that takes time away from what I normally would prefer to do just when I get home, sit down and veg out in front of the computers or TV. So sitting here and working on a video instead of taking the hour to prep food and all that stuff, I've gone back to my former life of like pretty much just going out and grabbing dinner fast food wise nightly. So Alamo was a nice little change of pace where it felt like I was going out to eat a little bit and going to see a movie. So I really enjoyed that element of Movie Mondays. Tuesdays were, when I started this whole thing, Tuesdays were a time where I was like, okay, well, I want to do some kind of gimmicky thing. So I'll do Trevor Performs the Drop, where I was reading the PlayStation blog, the PlayStation blog drop post with kind of all the game descriptions for whatever was coming out that week, and that, like, I enjoyed that. It was fun to kind of like throw myself into those sometimes ridiculous descriptions, but I also felt like I was just kind of repeating myself really quickly, really early on, and there was rarely a chance for me to dive in. It was also one of the videos where I was actually having to do like the most prep time, just because I was having to do multiple takes trying to read those descriptions in weird, funny accents and stuff, and then I would have to come in and do a lot of like clean up and edit and polish on those videos. And so I was like, these are definitely not worth the time I'm putting into them. I'm gonna kind of shift away from that. And I also was starting initially, back when I started all this, I was like, I'm gonna do, since I'm not doing too much video game stuff in here, I'm also gonna do Twitch streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays. And just the videos alone, I found out like 2 weeks in, were super overwhelming. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna not Twitch stream. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'll potentially do next as a project. And again, I'm not looking to do a daily thing in whatever I'm doing next. Making it more of maybe like a weekly or bi-weekly kind of schedule. But I will probably do some element of a streaming kind of thing as kind of the next project, because again, I've gone from writing every day, so kind of worked on honing that skill, and I've worked on honing an on-camera kind of skill with this daily video thing. So next steps that I want to kind of really hone are probably going to be Twitch streaming, and more in the realm of video editing, actually kind of putting some polish into these projects. So that was Tuesdays originally. Wednesdays, Wrestling Wednesday. It's been fun getting into wrestling. Very aggravating after how bad this recent Backlash pay-per-view was. But the best part of getting into wrestling has been kind of hanging out with Cameron and kind of our Portillo's bets with every pay-per-view. And it's been a nice little regular every few weeks. I knew I was going to go hang out, catch up with a friend, and enjoy some Portillos and stuff like that, even if I did spend the entire year pretty much paying for his Portillos because I was so bad at predicting what the WWE was going to do with their wrestlers. It's been fun. Like even above and beyond Cameron, it's been fun kind of chiming in the kind of funny wrestling group, kind of wrestling out there. And yeah, just chatting with friends. The culmination of it was really watching the NXT pay-per-view over PAX weekend with other like wrestling friends, and enjoying that show together in a communal sense. I wish. And it was something that Cameron and I talked about doing. Was we were going to originally try and watch WrestleMania together, but I ended up getting back that day, and I was like, I'm going to have to basically go straight home, and my house is not in any kind of condition to have company over. And he also ended up feeling a little under the weather, so hopefully we can like get together and watch some wrestling. I've got some other. I think the Henderson family here locally also gets into the wrestling stuff, so. Definitely enjoying that communal sense. I hope I can kind of continue that with these friends. If I'm not going to be doing the Wrestling Wednesday, I'll still be doing predictions, I'm sure, and kind of continuing on that bet with Cameron. But it'll probably be just day of like, here are my predictions for such and such a show. Money in the Bank is the next one, I think. So that's kind of what I'm looking at in terms of the future of my interest in wrestling. TV Thursday is one of the ones that I basically have completely changed how I watch TV this last year. I used to be, and again, I think this is also something that ties into just this project in general. Like I would throw on Hulu as I'm playing video games or something, and I would catch up on like whatever the week's shows were. So I would catch up on Flash or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Last Man on Earth and Arrow and all that kind of stuff. I would those were my Hulu shows that I would watch while I was doing something else, while I was playing video games. But now doing this project, I am talking to this camera for half an hour or something like that, and then editing everything together. And so I'm just not I barely logged into Hulu in this last year. Instead, focusing on like Netflix or stuff like that I've kind of already got, that are already more normal things in my kind of TV ecosystem. So TV Thursday has been often the hardest one, and that's why I eventually started just being like, okay, well, big blockbuster movies coming out, so instead I'm going to do a Thursday version of Movie Monday, and that saved me from doing a lot of TV stuff. Because I wasn't watching stuff, I ended up doing here are some good episodes of The Office I enjoy, and then even that, I got to season 7 of The Office, and I was like, man, it's tough to pick some of the really good episodes in this one that I really want to highlight, so I just kind of strayed away from that as well. So TV Thursday has very much been like, oh, I don't really watch TV in that same way anymore, so if I were doing the kind of a year's worth of programming now, I'd be like, I'm going to figure something else out to do for Thursday, because, TV is not really been a priority for me this year. And then, as I said earlier, what I feel like Friday was often like when I have the rest of my schedule so regimented, and Mondays are going to be movie, Tuesdays are going to be video games, Wednesdays wrestling, Thursdays TV. Coming to a Friday and hey, you can talk about anything. I'm like, oh god, there's too many things I could talk about. I don't know. I would have paralysis in terms of analysis paralysis in terms of what I wanted to talk about on any given Friday. So ultimately, I kind of ended up looking towards the news of the week or something like that, or just kind of in general things I wanted to respond to. It did end up being a nice place where I could talk about whatever theater I'm doing or seeing in town, but that's such a unless you're here in the valley with me and interested in the theater that I'm interested in, you don't care at all about that. So it was just kind of this is a video for me just to do a video because I committed to this daily thing. So Fridays are another one that ended up being very hard. Weirdly though, Fridays also ended up being some of my most popular videos. The one I did for the Let's Play Spring Break, I think people were just looking to see the Let's Play Spring Break, and so they searched for that and found my video. Even though I didn't even tag it. And then similarly, the video I did in response to Andy Signor over at Screen Junkies when when he basically got in hot water and all that stuff for sexual harassment issues at Screen Junkies and Defy Media. My video in response to that, like, just hit that SEO kind of optimization thing and took off. Again, in both those instances, like, I don't think I put tags or keywords on either of those videos. They just kind of got by on their title alone. And that's another thing that I've kind of just stopped doing. There were definitely some where I was like, I don't even want people to find this if they search for it, so I didn't tag things a lot of the time. Yeah, it was... Fridays were a tough one, but again, surprised me in that some of the videos just took off. Fridays also, that Let's Play one in particular, that was what kind of gave me the taught me. It was like, hey, like, if people are shitting on my comments, I don't owe them my comments section. I don't owe them anything. So people were like, in my Let's Play Spring Break video, I talk about, like, hey, I think it's really cool that Greg is treating this like a business opportunity, and he's, one of the few people out there really talking to the audience, engaging with the audience, and trying to bring in a new audience in this kind of crossover event. And the people, the Let's Play fanboys, for lack of a better term or something, they were coming into my video and basically being like, well, you're obviously biased. And I was like, I say I'm biased in the video. I say Greg and Kind of Funny are the ones I know. But they just were crapping on my video and shitting all over, like, my take on that. I was like, I don't owe you this moment, like, delete. And so I gave myself permission to do that. If these people weren't interested in having a conversation with me, they were just trying to find a bootleg version because they didn't want to pay a first subscription or something like that. So screw those guys. I don't know them shit in my comment section. You're gonna come at me and, like, harass me. I'm still small enough that I can delete your comments and not, like, lose sleep over it. So that was a nice little lesson from Fridays. And then lastly, with the anime and comic stuff on Saturdays, this was like a joyous little discovery. I really wasn't too much into comics or anime or anything before kind of taking on this project, and that's definitely a nice little world that I've kind of opened up my eyes to. I enjoyed the first half of Death Note, then it kind of fell off a cliff for me, and I've really been enjoying My Hero Academia on the anime front. And then on the comic side of things, I really enjoyed diving into Invincible. I've got like the Volume 3 compendium or whatever on pre-order. I can't wait till that comes out so I can finish that story. I really enjoyed Paper Girls, what I've read of it. I started reading Sex Criminals, which is a lot of fun. I've got Saga kind of on the back burner that I'm going to try and start reading this weekend and chat with my friend Lauren Wilson, who's really gotten into that with. So I'm really enjoying kind of all the different stories I'm being exposed to. It is also highlighting, though, one of the reasons I've always been a little wary of comics and probably stayed away from them is that they are, in so many cases, like, never ending, and it's not like a week between episodes like it is a TV show or something like that. It's like months between episodes or issues and stuff. So at least on a lot of these graphic novels that I'm kind of checking out. So it's like, God, I'm loving something like Invincible because I know that there's an end point to that. And so many times it feels like an individual issue of a comic or something doesn't tell a full enough story for me to be satisfied. So reading the trades where I'm getting 4 stories in one or something like that is much more satisfying. But even there, like, I'm feeling like in Paper Girls in particular, like, I enjoy each of those, but like, I'm enjoying the larger story as a whole more than like the beginning and end point of each of those sets of 4 issues. And so it's tough now. It's been tough waiting for Paper Girls Volume 4 to have come out, and then it did come out, and I forgot that it had come out, or I forgot, like, the timeline on it or whatever. So it came out, and then Lauren was like, hey, she really got into Paper Girls, and I was like, oh, that's right, Volume 4 is out now. I can go buy that. And I did, and I just haven't had a chance to really dive into it yet. So I'm enjoying comics. I just wish they were more like self-contained things. And so that's, I think, what I'm being more attracted to is like the such and such run of something. American Alien was another one that I really enjoyed, but I really enjoyed getting that and getting it in its entirety instead of like waiting for each issue to come out each month. I imagine I'll dive into the Last Jedi thing that Gary Whitta's doing right now once it's all done. And that's a little different because I already know the general story of The Last Jedi, but seeing kind of the little things he's putting in there, I'm interested in that, but I'm not interested in getting that piecemeal over the next 6 months. I'm interested in getting that all in one go when I eventually do. So that's been like the nice little kind of biggest surprise of this is how much I've enjoyed the anime and the comic side of things. But it also, also comes with its own cost of the time commitment and also just I'm not interested in picking up Walking Dead because that's still going on and everything. And it's also not really subject matter I'm interested in. But I definitely would not have started with Invincible if I hadn't known Invincible was coming to an end when I started it. So, I would not have been interested in following that story over the course of 15 years because that's just too long and drawn out to tell, I think, a good serialized story. So those are my thoughts on kind of this whole project. I definitely, in terms of like personal growth, I've talked about this I think a little bit in videos recently, in that I can definitely sit down and do this much more comfortably without a lot of ums and uhs, and especially when I started doing this, I would take so many like cough breaks off that I had to edit out of the videos because I don't know if I was using the coughs as like filler when I just came up on not knowing what I wanted to say next. I would just kind of turn like cough to give myself a second thought, or if it was like I was really chronically ill or something like that. But given that they eventually died down and I haven't really dealt with that too much, I think it was more of I was using coughing as a filler, which was a nice little trigger cue for me because the audio spikes on a video edit, so I could definitely pinpoint where I needed to cut those out. But I appreciate that over time I've gotten so much more comfortable doing this that I've talked here now for 22 minutes, and I feel like pretty much all of it has been, worthy of being in this video, or at least it's kind of all been a steady train of thought, kind of talking about stuff without really going off in too many different directions that I'm going to really need to do too much chopping up of this video. So that's been the biggest benefit, is that I am just more comfortable sitting here talking to a camera for an extended period of time, as opposed to some of those very early videos that are like edit, like just edited to crap. So that's been the big life lesson of this year-long project. But yeah, like I said in here, the next thing I want to do is really start focusing on polished stuff, and I don't think that's going to mean a don't break the chain kind of mentality. I'm gonna give myself days off. I'm gonna give myself time to work on projects if I need them. I'm not gonna, stress out about like, oh, I've got to put up a video today. I've got to do something today, because I don't think that's giving me the best content that I want. It's been good for like discipline and to really kind of force me to stick to a schedule and stuff like that, but I don't think it has overall given me a good swath of content that I want to put out there to the world. I want to, as long as I've got like a day job that I'm going to have to commit really the bulk of my attention and resources to, I'm not going to be able to put attention and resources into a daily video or a daily like content dump kind of thing. So I want to take the time to put something out that I want to promote and I want to tag and all that stuff. Also in all this, I guess I really didn't mention it, taking on and starting to do the West Winging podcast. We're coming up to our final episode, recording our final episode of the first season on that, or at least the final episode of the show's first season. Then we're going to do like a season 1 recap thing, like with our favorite moments and stuff from the first season. That's also been a nice little getting into a habit of podcasting again, has been fun. It's definitely kind of opened my eyes to like, hey, I really enjoy podcasting. I maybe want to get back into that in a general sense. Probably not a 4-hour podcast like I was originally doing with Trove Talk, where it was, okay, we're going to talk about somebody's gaming history for 2 hours. That in and of itself is the podcast. I don't need to do the other 3 things that I did in there, but But yeah, I'm looking at that as an opportunity as well. Maybe getting back into other podcasting forays. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been. A little bit about where I'm going. I don't really want to kind of fully come out and announce anything because I am probably just going to take a little bit of time off after Sunday to really kind of figure out what I want to do. I will probably still Thursday I'm going to see Deadpool. I'll probably come home, record a video, and be like, here are my thoughts on Deadpool, and just kind of put that out in the world, and stuff like that. I'll continue doing stuff like that. I'm going to continue doing My Hero Academia and kind of at least through Season 2 of that, and then I might just start watching Season 3 and just enjoy Season 3 for me. Who knows? But yeah, so I'll still have like videos here and there in this same kind of format. But it's not going to be a daily thing moving forward after Sunday. So that's what I feel like today. Thank you, especially if you've watched this entire video. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you if you watched any of these videos for this last year. It means a lot. I appreciate the people who've kind of talked to me and engaged with me about them. It's been an experience, mostly good, but it definitely has, as the year went on, wore me down a little bit in a way that I'm going to appreciate not having to stick to this for my own sanity a little bit. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you've thought about this whole journey in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.